A mercenary appears on every battlefield, fights like he wants to die, vanishes without a trace. When the Empire's involved, he fights like it's personal. In the snow, a knight finds him. Yuri Betrayal, he says, the third and last prince of a fallen kingdom, now just a ghost chasing death. 10 years earlier, in a casino, Yuri and the royal mage Hernando are gambling. Yuri, 18 and on a winning streak, laughs about his luck. Hernando, amazed, asks how Yuri always wins. One gambler bails, salty about his losses, while Yuri suggests raising the stakes. Hernando suggests they leave for an appointment. As they leave, the men accuse Yuri of cheating, angry like they've lost their life savings. They are mocking Yuri. Yuri snaps, flipping a table in frustration. Then calls them Bakali trash bastards and promises to teach them a lesson. The men end up getting beaten up. Later, Yuri and Princess Ekaterina are secretly meeting outside. Yuri lies he was late because his father called an emergency meeting. Ekaterina, the imperial princess of the empire, questions if Yuri thinks he's the only one with time constraints. Yuri acknowledges her effort, explaining the pressure he's under with his father gone. Ekaterina, feeling like a side chick, asks if she's now just someone else to him. Questioning Yuri's trust in her, she tells him not to contact her until she reaches out first, throwing the amulet to the ground. Yuri tries to stop her, asking for a moment to understand, but she doesn't turn back. Meanwhile, a man watched all that unfold from the shadows, noting that escaping this won't be easy, leading to tension between Betrayal and the Empire reaching a breaking point. The Empire invades Betrayal. Flames engulf the city. The full-scale war with the Empire has begun. The war rages on. Soldiers fall, and someone urges Yuri to get to safety. Betrayal's greatest military force is struggling, and the Empire gains the upper hand. After the battle, Yuri stands amidst the aftermath, reflecting on the betrayal by Ekaterina. His father's absence coincided with the Empire's invasion. A letter he sent to Ekaterina was answered simply. "I'm sorry." Soldiers shout that killing Yuri will lead to Betrayal's fall. Yuri fights on, exhausted but determined. Yuri takes a moment to catch his breath. Facing a new wave of soldiers, Yuri is disarmed. Frustrated, he thinks, "Damn it, is this how I die?" As soldiers close in, Laurent suddenly appears, intercepting a blow meant for Yuri. Yuri watches in shock as Laurent, struggling, tells him, "Your Highness, please survive," before collapsing. Yuri stands frozen. Soldiers rush to Yuri, urging him to escape. "Your Highness, you must escape," they insist. "If even the prince falls, there will be no future for Betrayal." Yuri, split between fighting or fleeing, decides to run. Pursuers shout, urging each other to catch him. Outside, soldiers search for him, convinced he hasn't gone far. Yuri hides inside a building. He knows he can't stay hidden forever. Yuri contemplates his next move. He wonders about his father's fate. Suddenly, the door opens. Yuri realizes he's been found, desperately pleading for his life, insisting Betrayal's future depends on him. The man reassures Yuri that the Empire will face retribution. The man warns Yuri that enemy soldiers are coming and urges him to flee. Yuri must live to rebuild Betrayal and seek vengeance. Yuri runs into the night once again. As he trudges through the rain, he realizes he's been punishing himself with his sword, reflecting on his actions, holding onto hope that someone will end his suffering. Back at the beginning, a knight approaches Yuri, accusing him of recklessly seeking peace, calling Yuri selfish. The knight then calls Yuri the third prince of Betrayal. Yuri is stunned, believing everyone who knew his past was dead. The knight blames him for everything, then removes his mask, revealing himself as Laurent, who sacrificed himself for Yuri. Yuri is shocked, recognizing Laurent's voice. Laurent charges at Yuri, his sword piercing Yuri's body. Despite the pain, Yuri thought death would lighten his guilt, but it remains. As he draws his final breath, he acknowledges Betrayal's honor won't be abandoned. Yuri's vision fades to black, but he suddenly wakes up in a bed. Confused, he hears someone urgently calling his name. "Yuri Betrayal." The voice pulls him back to consciousness, and he opens his eyes, taking in his surroundings. Yuri's confused to see his dad there, remembering that he had passed away. He wonders if he's in the afterlife, possibly even hell. His father listens as Yuri tries to make sense of it all. Yuri reaches out to touch his father's hand. Still in disbelief, Yuri talks about his father's past, mentioning how he lived a wild life despite always preaching about honor. His father, unimpressed, asks what nonsense Yuri is yapping. Suddenly, his father slaps him, scolding him for talking nonsense even if they are in hell. Yuri tells his father to repent while he still can. As Yuri processes this, a leaf falls in front of him. Yuri sits quietly. He looks around and notices the beauty of his surroundings. Sunlight filters through the leaves. He sees a fountain in the distance, realizing this place is far from the hell he imagined. Yuri stands in a peaceful setting, watching two women carry baskets. There's no chaos or torment, no sinners or demons, nothing like the hell he expected. Instead, he finds himself in a serene environment, realizing he's not in the place he thought. Wait a minute, Yuri questions his surroundings, wondering, then where am I? Overwhelmed, he faints again. Now appearing as a 13-year-old, Yuri lies asleep once more. His father and others stand around, watching over him with concern. Yuri initially thought he was dreaming, maybe seeing his life flash before his eyes. Despite trying, he couldn't wake up and everything around him stayed the same. It felt surreal, yet he was trapped in this mysterious state. Yuri finds himself reliving his past, experiencing events he'd forgotten. Despite his disbelief, he accepts that he's returned to the spring of his 13th year. Sitting at a grand table, the familiar surroundings confirm his situation, and he considers the opportunities this new beginning offers. Yuri is suddenly woken up by a voice calling him Your Highness. The voice reminds him he wanted to be woken up for sword practice. Still groggy, Yuri mumbles in response, trying to shake off his sleepiness. Realizing the urgency, he jolts upright, ready to face the day. In a rush, Yuri calls out to Ina for his clothes but quickly realizes he needs to wash up first. Ina notices his flustered state and gently advises him to chill. She offers to help him wash his face, guiding him to sit down. Yuri sits quietly, lost in thought, remembering the painful memory of Ina's death in his past life. He calls out to Ina, who responds promptly, addressing him with respect. In an unexpected request, Yuri asks Ina to slap him. Yuri insists Ina slap him 3 times, emphasizing it should sting. Ina is taken aback, asking if he's asking her to commit treason. Yuri reassures her, saying it's not treason if it's his order. Ina hesitantly asks if he's sure. Yuri confidently affirms, stating that he, Yuri Betrayal, always keeps his promises. At the training ground, it's a bright, sunny day. Birds fly over a grand building, casting shadows on the courtyard and a spacious open area for training. Yuri is training with Bernard, bruised from his encounter with Ina. Despite the mark on his cheek, no one acknowledges it or offers help. Yuri reflects on Ina's strength, realizing he underestimated her. As he spars with Bernard, he notes the indifference of those around him, including Bernard, who doesn't inquire about his injury. Yuri spars with Bernard, his swordsmanship teacher. Bernard stands confidently, holding his practice sword. Despite the training, Yuri notices Bernard isn't correcting his posture or offering guidance. They spar without verbal instruction. Yuri reflects on this change in Bernard's teaching style, questioning when it shifted to just sparring. Bernard stands in a grand room, speaking with Yuri's father. He comments on Yuri's natural talent, expressing regret that it's going to waste. Bernard suggests that with more diligence, Yuri could have been a great asset to their realm. Yuri overhears this conversation, hidden from view. From that day, Yuri becomes uncooperative during training sessions. Reflecting on this change, Yuri realizes it was after Bernard's conversation with his father that he stopped receiving guidance. Bernard, seemingly resigned, shifted to just sparring with Yuri, abandoning any attempts at instruction. Yuri, reflecting on his past behavior, acknowledges Bernard's earlier comments made him slack off instead of trying harder. Yuri calls out to Bernard, expressing his desire for proper instruction. He firmly states that from today onward, he wants Bernard to teach him seriously. Yuri, determined, declares he will be serious from now on. Bernard, taken aback by Yuri's newfound determination, acknowledges the change. Though unsure of what prompted this shift, Bernard seems ready to support Yuri's commitment. Bernard declares that from now on, things will be different. He grips his sword as blue energy swirls around him, ready for real training. Yuri, caught off guard by Bernard's force, calls out for him to hold on. Yuri struggles to keep up with Bernard's relentless attacks. Bernard's movements are swift and precise, his energy crackling with power. Yuri, trying to maintain his defense, is pushed to his limits, barely managing to hold his ground. He acknowledges the situation, saying, "Ah, right." Meanwhile, Bernard approaches with a serious demeanor, his body enveloped in a powerful blue aura. His expression is intense, focused entirely on the task. Before arriving at Betrayal, Bernard was known as the Sword Demon. This reputation adds to the fear Yuri feels due to Bernard's overwhelming skills. The scene shifts from the intense energy surrounding Bernard to a calm sky. After the intense training session with Bernard, Yuri lies on the ground, exhausted, reflecting on the experience. He realizes that without his previous mercenary experience, he might have been overwhelmed. Yuri remains optimistic, believing this level of training will lead to rapid improvement. He reaches out towards the sky, hopeful for his future growth. Bernard stands in disbelief, reflecting on Yuri's impressive progress. He can't help but wonder when the prince managed to grow so much, handling the rigorous training with unexpected resilience. Meanwhile, Yuri lies on the ground, still catching his breath from the intense session. Just then, Ina, Yuri's maid, appears at the doorway. She urgently calls out to Yuri, asking him to hurry and come with her. Yuri is informed that His Majesty is looking for him. Confused, he asks why. The maid reveals that Count Johans and his son have arrived. Yuri's expression shifts as he recalls that in his past life, Count Johans' son was the one who betrayed the kingdom, opening the gates for the empire. Yuri stands with a serious expression, recalling the name Goth Barkvar, the traitor from his past life. He turns to Ina, asking about Goth's current whereabouts. Ina responds promptly, ready to assist Yuri. Yuri and his dad are having dinner with the royal family, including Goth Barvar. It's all formal but chill, with everyone chatting. The royals are hyped about the third prince's glow-up. Our boy's been hitting the gym. Yuri's dad jokes that his son must have eaten something wild to bulk up like that. The royals laugh, asking for the secret recipe to share with their own kid. They switch topics to the prince's brainpower, tossing around some compliments while keeping it real about his room for growth. Yuri, meanwhile, is giving Goth Barvar the death stare, clearly holding a grudge. His brother notices the vibe and asks if something went down. Yuri, remembering his past life, says Goth's still the same. His brother's curious but doesn't dig deeper. Goth Barvar tries to look unbothered, continuing with the meal. The tension's thick, but dinner wraps up without drama. Outside, Yuri and Goth Barvar are still in that dinner tension. Yuri, flashing back to a similar moment from his past life, challenges Goth to a fight. Goth's like, "Why bro, I'm not even a knight yet." Yuri insists the kingdom doesn't need narrow-minded knights. Goth's uneasy, sensing Yuri's not playing around. Yuri and Goth face off. Yuri, with a wooden sword, challenges Goth. Goth's surprised but ready, gripping his weapon. Yuri charges in, kicking off their duel. The clash starts with Yuri launching a quick attack. Goth defends but gets pushed back by Yuri's forceful strike. Goth's struggling to keep up with Yuri's relentless assault. He tells Yuri to chill with the chivalry, hinting that he wasn't expecting this level of heat. Yuri stays focused, determined to make his point. Yuri keeps dominating the fight. With a slick move, he knocks Goth's sword away. Goth's on the ground, looking up at Yuri in shock and frustration. Yuri stands over him, reminding Goth of his past actions that trashed his dad's reputation for personal gain. He emphasizes the importance of titles and positions like Goth's dad's. Goth listens, visibly affected by Yuri's words. Yuri questions Goth about his choices, telling him that living without understanding isn't really living. He stresses the power and responsibility that come with titles like his dad's. Goth listens, initially confused, but Yuri's persistence makes him reflect. Yuri asks why Goth's dad holds the title of Count and who gave him that power, urging Goth to consider the real meaning behind these roles. Yuri's brother pulls up, surprised by Yuri's recent antics. Curious about Yuri's fighting skills, he asks if Yuri thought he'd lose. Yuri's like, "What do you take me for?" His brother, jokingly but kinda serious, calls Yuri the kingdom's biggest troublemaker and gambler. Yuri, though, declares he's done with that life and advises his brother to stop causing chaos too. This change in Yuri's character leaves his brother shook. Yuri trains hard with Bernard, pushing himself to level up fast. After a tough session, Bernard gives props for the effort and suggests calling it a day. He then mentions it's time to learn the mana method. Yuri eagerly asks if Bernard will teach him his own method. Bernard's like, "Nah, my method's not your vibe." Bernard recommends the Brillouin method, a super efficient mana technique. Yuri mastered it in his past life as a mercenary. Bernard suggests finding someone from the royal guard with mad potential to help Yuri. He mentions Jard as a great candidate, noting his potential despite his current skill level. Yuri seems thoughtful, processing Bernard's advice. Yuri reflects on his past experiences before he regressed, especially about Jard. He remembers meeting him at the end of a war. Despite Jard's potential, his skills were meh, making it surprising he lasted so long. Yuri finds it frustrating, recognizing Jard's innate potential but lamenting that it was never fully developed. Yuri thinks about how, if given the chance, he'd train Jard relentlessly to unlock his true abilities. Yuri acknowledges how they both became like rusted swords over time. Determined to avoid past mistakes, Yuri suggests they visit Jard, calling him their slacker knight. Yuri's set on making Jard take his training seriously. He knows Jard's got untapped potential, and this time, Yuri's committed to ensuring it doesn't go to waste. Yuri rolls up to the training grounds. A young dude welcomes him with respect. Yuri, clearly not here for formalities, says he's just scoping how things are going. The guy, who Yuri's definitely not here for, admits they can't touch Yuri's skill level, but they're giving it their all. Yuri, not really listening, scans the area for Jard. Our boy watches the training, noting their hustle. He asks about Jard, curious about his game. The guy Yuri doesn't care about points out Jard as the new recruit. Yuri watches Jard, understanding why Bernard insists on the push your limits thing. Jard's just scraping by. Yuri, feeling the need to flex, asks Sir Rosso, the side character, for a wooden sword, eyeing Jared, that lazy one over there, for a spar. Yuri and Jard square up, ready to throw hands. Yuri, all confidence, challenges Jard to show what he's got. Jard, slightly annoyed, agrees. As they gear up, Yuri's hyped to see Jard's moves. They dive into a fierce exchange. Yuri, buzzing with energy, tells Jard not to disappoint him. Jard, focused but a bit uneasy, picks up on something off about Yuri's style. Jard's shook by Yuri's precise attacks. Someone in the crowd hypes Yuri up. Jard, though, feels something's not adding up with Yuri's technique. Yuri's got that effortless control, while Jard clocks Yuri's consistent spacing, like he's got a cheat code. Jard's trying to decode Yuri's moves, but Yuri's precision is rock solid. Yuri decides to step up the intensity. "It's not fun, is it?" he asks, and goes for a swift attack, catching Jard off guard. Jard blocks it, showing some nice reflexes. Yuri nods, a bit impressed. Jard's feeling the pressure from Yuri's relentless pace. Jard, deciding to match Yuri's vibe, ditches the chill plan and goes all in, recognizing the challenge. Yuri understands that Jard's no rookie, he's a fully trained knight and a real test. Jard, determined, isn't about to let Yuri cruise. Yuri's locked in thinking, I have to land at least one hit. With a precise move, he breaks through Jard's defenses, landing a solid hit. Jard's taken aback, but Yuri's satisfied. That's more like it. Yuri surprises everyone by landing a hit on Jard. Yuri grins, asking Jard if he's letting him win. Jard's like, nah, he's not. Even on the offensive, Jard feels the unusual pressure, thinking something's off as Yuri's skill corners him. Frustrated, Jard cranks it up, channeling mana to summon a glowing sword. The crowd's shocked, questioning Jard's move to use such power in a spar. Yuri stays focused, ready for the challenge. Jard stands there, mana sword blazing, looking fierce. Onlookers urge him to chill, reminding him he's up against the third prince. Yuri's locked in, ready to handle the powerful attack. The crowd still hopes he'll snap out of it. Despite the warnings, Jard's resolve doesn't budge. Yuri realizes the seriousness but stays cool. The bystanders can't believe his nerve. One yells out concern for Yuri, but Yuri reassures them, asking if this is their first time witnessing a spar. Even injured, Yuri's unfazed, telling Jard to keep going. Yuri's loving the action, admitting he's having a blast. Yuri, thrilled by the battle, goes hard against Jard. Yuri's excitement's obvious as he keeps pushing. Jard, locked in, matches Yuri's energy. Their moves are fast and powerful. Despite the pressure, Yuri's keeping up with the duel. Jard recognizes Yuri's unique style, realizing this prince is built different. Yuri pushes himself past his limits in the intense duel. His determination's clear as he drives beyond his breaking point. Jard sees how far Yuri's pushing himself. Jard feels an intense rush as he charges into battle, more hyped than when sparring with stronger opponents. Yuri, the young prince, is wielding his weapon with precision, pushing Jard to fight harder. Jard struggles to keep up with Yuri's relentless attacks, gritting his teeth in frustration. But he's not backing down, determined to stay in the game. Jard channels his mana, gripping his sword tightly. With a powerful slash, he shatters Yuri's weapon, leaving the prince momentarily stunned. Both fighters are cooked as the battle ends. Yuri catches his breath and acknowledges the intense duel, admitting he learned something valuable. Jard stands firm, still radiating power as they share a moment of mutual respect. Yuri extends his hand and Jard accepts it after a moment. They shake hands firmly, acknowledging each other's strength. Jard is amazed at how the young prince pushed him to his limits and thanks Yuri for the experience. As they hold the handshake, Jard reflects on the challenge Yuri presented. Yuri notices Jard's contemplative state, but they're interrupted by the crowd's concern over Yuri's head injury. Realizing the urgency, Jard apologizes and rushes to get help. The crowd praises Yuri, calling him amazing. The captain, who just arrived, is impressed by Yuri's performance. Meanwhile, Yuri remains on the ground, processing everything. Saint, the captain of the Betrayal Royal Guard, observes Yuri with interest, impressed by the young prince's skills. A few days later, Jard strolls through a peaceful garden. Yuri, with a confident smile, insists that Jard owes him a favor, playfully asserting his influence. Jard hesitates, mentioning his need to train, but Yuri's not having it. As they walk, Yuri notes Jard's improved posture but says there's still room for growth. Jard asks where they're headed, and Yuri tells him to follow quietly, assuring there's no danger. He mentions they'll be joined by someone else. Yuri calls out to Hernando, the royal mage, asking for his assistance. Hernando hesitates, citing pressing business, but Yuri offers to pay off his gambling debt, capturing Hernando's interest. Hernando, skeptical, questions Yuri's sincerity. Yuri reassures him, pointing out he's never lied outside the gambling den. Hernando reflects on his reputation as just a gambler, questioning if he's ever even seen him outside the gambling den. Yuri urges Hernando to stop complaining and follow him, promising to clear his debt, deadass. Hernando insists on putting it in writing. Bernard holds up a document to formalize the agreement. Yuri questions whether the prince's name is worth such a small matter. Yuri tells Jard to vouch for him, and Jard agrees, though confused. With that settled, Yuri, Hernando, and Jard prepare to leave. Hernando, curious, asks where they're headed. Yuri reveals they're going to Sword Mountain, accompanied by a royal knight and a mage. Hernando is surprised by the destination. Yuri declares their mission clear. They're going to raid the Founder's dungeon. Yuri, Hernando, and Jard are navigating through a dimly lit cave under the royal palace. With our boy Yuri surprised there's even a path here. Hernando asks Yuri, again, where they're headed. Jard, the lore master, explains the cave leads to Sword Mountain, a place tied to legends about their empire's founder. Yuri flashes back to his past life, remembering the hype when the founder's heritage was discovered there after their empire conquered Betrayal. As they continue through the cave, Yuri reflects on its history as a basic escape route and how Betrayal's legacy got snatched by the empire. Now, he's feeling all kinds of purpose and determination. Hernando asks about the key they used to open the door. Yuri explains it was hidden in the study, just like in his previous life, and reflects on the price he paid for not getting its purpose back then. Hernando warns Yuri to watch out for the sharp leaves around them, and Yuri nods as they proceed carefully. As they push through the dense forest, Jard seems distracted. Hernando asks if something's up and Jard confirms that Yuri's been acting differently lately. Yuri calls out to them to keep up, and Hernando comments on Yuri's unchanged attitude in that regard. Suddenly, they run into a pack of direwolves. The wolves growl menacingly. Yuri tells Hernando and Jard that direwolves roll in packs, so there might be more lurking. Hernando's surprised Yuri knows this, and Yuri casually mentions he read it in a book. Hernando, shocked by the idea of Yuri reading, accidentally steps on a twig, and the wolves attack. Jard moves swiftly, saving Hernando from the attacking direwolves with a mana technique that impresses Yuri. But things get spicier as the direwolf leader locks onto them. As the direwolves charge, Jard tells Yuri and Hernando to stick close. He readies his weapon, glowing with blue energy, standing firm to defend his crew. Jard slices through the direwolves, impressing Yuri and Hernando. Yuri acknowledges Jard's skills as part of Brial's royal guard, but notes there's still room for growth. Yuri nudges Hernando to show off his skills. Hernando ignites flames around him, creating fiery orbs ready to be unleashed. As Jard battles a wolf, Hernando steps up. Yuri watches, knowing Hernando's abilities are highly regarded. Hernando unleashes a powerful explosion of fire magic, finishing off the wolf. Jard narrowly dodges the flames. With the threat gone, they continue their journey. They finally reach the peak of Sword Mountain, taking in the breathtaking view and feeling accomplished despite the direwolf detour. At the peak, Yuri spots a sword handle partially buried in the ground. Excited, he calls Jard and Hernando to help pull it out. Hernando hesitates, mentioning a wound on a mage's hand is a disgrace, but Yuri's not having it. Yuri pulls the sword from the ground, its blade gleaming like it just got a fresh polish. Hernando notes it doesn't seem like it was buried long. Jard wonders if it's the ancestor's legacy, but Yuri's unsure. They notice guilty engraved on the sword. Suddenly, the ground trembles and erupts, sending them plummeting into a dark abyss. They scream in shock as they fall, surrounded by debris and darkness, uncertain of what awaits them below. Yuri and Jard plummet from above, but Jard's mana aura kicks in just in time, soaking up most of the impact. Yuri lands awkwardly on top of him, but thanks to Jard's aura, they both dodge serious injury. Jard groans, feeling the strain despite his efforts. Our boy's cooked, but still alive. Yuri admires Jard's ability to protect them with mana. Hernando lands nearby, using his own magic, and comments on the unexpected depth of the fall. Yuri wonders if Hernando prioritized his own safety over theirs, but Hernando laughs it off, saying it was a critical moment. Suddenly, Hernando points out an approaching threat. Yuri turns to see a ghostly knight emerging, its presence intimidating. Yuri urgently tells Jard to get up. Disoriented, Jard looks around in confusion until Yuri's insistence snaps him out of it. Jard stands asking where they are and sees the ghostly knight approaching. Shocked, he steps protectively in front of Yuri, telling him to step back and that he'll handle the Death Knight. Yuri sarcastically comments on Jard taking his time to get up. Jard grips his weapon, ready to face the Death Knight, aware that it's stronger now than in life. But Yuri steps forward, confidently saying the knight isn't dangerous. Jard, skeptical, asks how Yuri knows. Yuri explains that the knight guards their ancestors' dungeon and wouldn't harm someone of his bloodline, revealing his full name, Yuri Brial. He reassures Jard that the knight poses no threat. Despite this, the Death Knight draws his sword. The knight suddenly unleashes a powerful slash at Yuri. Hernando shouts a warning, but Yuri is caught off guard as the attack narrowly misses, slicing through his hair. Hernando comments on the close call, noting Yuri's hair was split in half. Yuri is visibly shocked. Jard warns Hernando to watch his mouth. The knight observes Yuri and remarks on his arrogance, comparing him to someone else. Yuri questions the knight about who he means, and the knight mentions a name that chills the room, Erich Brial. Bernard and Jard react with surprise, recognizing Erich Brial as a legendary swordsman and the founder of the Night Kingdom of Brial. Yuri asks the knight if he's the first to arrive here. The knight confirms, adding that only a Brial descendant can draw the sword. The knight mentions having used the sword, prompting Yuri to apologize for touching it. The knight addresses Yuri as the heir of Brial. Yuri stands before the knight, who demands his reason for entering the dungeon. Yuri introduces himself as Yuri Brial, heir of Erich Brial and third prince of the current Brial era, requesting the knight to pass on his ancestors' legacy. The knight's glowing eyes remain on Yuri. The knight acknowledges Yuri's claim. With a deep voice, he declares it's time to fulfill his duty and promises to give Yuri what he seeks. Jard, standing in the dungeon, reflects on his unexpected situation, noting that talking to a Death Knight isn't what he imagined as a royal guard. Lost in thought, he's brought back by Yuri's voice. Yuri asks Jard what he's doing, snapping him out of his reverie. Jard has a sudden flashback, a hazy and unsettling memory. He shakes it off, muttering that he must be imagining things, and calls out that he's coming, hurrying to catch up with Yuri in the icy corridor. The knight leads Yuri to a massive, glowing crystal. Its light fills the chamber with a serene energy. The knight aura farms in front of it, seemingly in contemplation. The crystal's blue aura envelops Yuri. The knight hopes Yuri is worthy, and suddenly, Yuri is transported to a deserted landscape. Yuri stands alone in the barren landscape, confused. he wonders where he is and notices a figure approaching. Initially thinking it might be the founder, he realizes it's someone else as it gets closer. The figure is not human and charges at Yuri with alarming speed. Yuri braces himself and defends against the fierce attack, struggling to hold his ground. The creature wields a mana sword, glowing with blue energy. Yuri understands the gravity of the situation, realizing the creature's power is both physical and magical, making the battle daunting. Yuri stands, captivated by the figure demonstrating how to wield mana, our boy realizing the figure before him is on another level. The figure, glowing with a blue aura, channels energy into a sword with fluid movements. Yuri watches intently, starting to grasp the technique. Determined, he grips his own sword, ready to try it himself. Yuri contemplates the challenge, thinking the founder must have been insane to expect him to learn this without experience. The figure, still glowing, smirks at Yuri's frustration, seemingly amused by Yuri's resolve. Despite his doubts, Yuri insists on doing it properly, determined to get stronger. The figure seems to enjoy the show. Yuri focuses on absorbing the legendary swordsmanship of Betrayal. He knows the stakes are high, with the Empire threatening to invade Betrayal. He vows not to repeat past mistakes and is resolute in his mission to crush any opposition. As he grips his sword, a blue aura surrounds him, matching the figure's energy. The clash begins, with Yuri channeling all his strength into mastering the technique. Meanwhile, Jard finds himself in a mysterious training ground, unsure if it's a dream. He calls out, realizing he's facing a doppelganger, a clone of himself. Jard wonders if this is part of the Death Knight's trial. The clone stands ready, mirroring his stance. Jard prepares for the confrontation. The clone taunts him about his true desires, suggesting he join the royal guard for a comfortable life. It warns against defying fate, saying it leads to misery. Jard reflects on this, recalling the sparring session with Yuri that sparked new ambitions. He acknowledges that the old him might have agreed, but now he finds the idea of a simple life unfulfilling. The clone dismisses it as play acting, but Jard shows determination to pursue a path beyond comfort. Facing his clone, Jard explains that once a sword is swung, it can't be taken back, and dwelling on past actions causes confusion. He dismisses the clone's thoughts as arrogant and monotonous, criticizing its lack of risk-taking. Unfazed, Jard channels energy into his sword, which glows with a vibrant blue aura. Jard battles his clone, an older version of himself who focuses solely on defense. Frustrated but determined, Jard recalls being overly defensive in the past. He resolves to break through, channeling energy into a precise strike that overpowers the clone. It falls, seemingly defeated, but then regenerates, rising to continue the fight. The clone transforms into a monstrous mud creature. Undeterred, Jard remains motivated, hoping Yuri can overcome his own challenges. Meanwhile, Yuri lies motionless against a rock, seemingly defeated. The mysterious figure approaches him. In the dim light, Yuri is slumped against the rock, eyes closed. The figure stands before him, gathering energy. With a swift motion, it unleashes a powerful burst of mana directly at Yuri. Yuri suddenly reaches out and grabs his sword, ready to counterattack. He channels mana into the blade, creating a blue aura. He swings, sending his opponent flying backward. Standing with his sword glowing blue, Yuri catches his breath, reflecting on the battle. He's learned a lot about wielding mana, feeling more connected with each swing. Suddenly, he notices his opponent, the one who's been both a challenger and teacher, beginning to crumble. The opponent's sword shatters, and the figure itself starts to disintegrate, fading away into nothing. The figure gives a gentle wave as it disappears. Yuri realizes he's passed the test and learned to wield mana. He quietly thanks the figure as it vanishes. Back at the cave, Jard and Bernard wonder if Yuri has returned. Yuri watches them from a distance, unnoticed. The knight greets Yuri, commenting on his dreamlike experience. Yuri, curious, asks the knight about the mana method. The knight explains that it was Erich's arrangement, a legacy left for a future Betrayal descendant. Yuri recalls that Sword Mountain was destroyed in his past life, preventing the Betrayal family from reaching this place. Yuri asks again about the mana method, and the knight clarifies that it's Erich's final legacy, created from his enlightenment in the East. Yuri is the first to inherit this legacy. He asks why it wasn't passed to the royal family, and the knight explains that the dungeon only opens when the time is right. Yuri needs to figure out that timing himself. Intrigued by the sword, Yuri asks its name. The knight calls it Simhancham, meaning soul severance. He instructs Yuri to kneel, preparing to pass on the legacy. Yuri kneels, and the knight places a hand on his head, giving him a blessing. He urges Yuri to never fear his enemies and to follow his beliefs. Yuri listens, acknowledging the values with a determined yes. The knight grips Yuri's head, ensuring the message sinks in. He commands Yuri to remember that Betrayal never abandons its honor, even at life's cost. As the knight fades away, Yuri absorbs the weight of the final message. At the Betrayal mansion, morning light filters in as a maid wakes Yuri, announcing the start of the day. Yuri, still processing what happened last night, sighs as he wakes. Yuri sits, visibly tired, The maid asks if he's okay, noting he came in late. Yuri explains he visited the royal archives searching for a specific record. He found that Erich Brial had a sibling who abandoned their honor and vanished from history, leaving no name. Yuri realizes this mysterious figure must have been the Death Knight and the original owner of the sword. The maid interrupts, reminding him to change clothes. She mentions His Majesty is asking for him after meeting with Sir Hernando. Recalling the previous day, Yuri remembers Hernando confronting him, saying he'd report everything to His Majesty. Annoyed, Yuri questioned if it was necessary, but Hernando insisted. Realizing Hernando has likely reported everything, Yuri runs a hand through his hair, contemplating. The scene shifts to a grand room where Yuri is expected. Yuri enters the room where his father awaits on his throne. His father confirms Hernando's report about Yuri sneaking out and discovering the founder's dungeon. Yuri admits it, mentioning he found a sword there. His father steps forward, questioning Yuri's recent changes. He has been informed of it, starting with Yuri's maid, Bernard Sained, and now Hernando. He demands an explanation. Yuri, nervous, stands before his father, struggling to speak. His father notices Yuri's hesitation and steps back, asking if Yuri doesn't want to explain. Yuri, trying to be brave, says it's not reluctance but his father's clenched fist that makes him uneasy. Acknowledging this, his father prompts Yuri to speak. Yuri takes a deep breath, revealing that his transformation began with a dream. Yuri explains he had a dream, piquing his father's interest. He reveals he committed a great sin in the dream. Surprised, his father asks for more details, and Yuri prepares to elaborate on his unsettling vision. Yuri explains that he failed to protect Brial during a great war, leading to a massacre. Despite his efforts, he couldn't change the outcome. After the kingdom fell, he fled in disgrace, losing his honor and meeting a miserable end. When he woke up, Yuri discovered the necklace his mother gave him was missing. Continuing his story, Yuri's father asks what destroyed the kingdom. Yuri hesitates, considering whether to mention the Empire, but decides against it. He hopes there's still a chance to change the past and prevent the Empire's invasion. Instead, he tells his father it was a mysterious black army of unknown origin. His father listens carefully, considering Yuri's words, whether it's a nightmare or a warning. Sensing the seriousness, he shifts the focus and instructs Yuri to bring his sword. Yuri stands in his father's training hall, a place he's never been. He reflects on his father's achievements and the weight of his legacy. Fior Brial, his father, is a legendary swordsman known across the continent. Fior acknowledges that he never thought any of his sons had talent for the sword. Fior, with a commanding presence, challenges Yuri by pointing his sword at him. He asks Yuri about the essence of a swordsman's talent, whether it's natural strength, speed, reflexes, or instincts. Fior dismisses these notions, emphasizing that true greatness comes from something deeper, a force that drives a person to surpass their limits. Yuri listens, absorbing his father's wisdom. Fior suggests calling this force the sword's calling. Yuri, intrigued, tries to grasp the concept. His father reflects on his own past, admitting he wasn't destined to follow the path of the sword. Fior asks Yuri if he should now take up the sword, questioning if Yuri can hear the sword calling to him. Yuri contemplates the weight of the question and the path ahead. Fior exudes a menacing aura as he asks if Yuri will still hold a sword even at the moment of his death. The intensity frightens Yuri, who stands there, visibly shaken. Yuri struggles to respond, his voice trembling as he begins to say, "I don't." His father's silhouette looms with the ominous aura. Overwhelmed by fear, Yuri calls out, "Father." His voice echoes in the oppressive atmosphere. Suddenly, Yuri is engulfed by vivid flashbacks of his past life. His eyes widen in shock as memories flood back, each more horrific than the last. Voices from his past echo in his mind, filled with urgency and fear. "Your Highness." "Run," someone shouts while another voice cries out for help. The chaos of war, Yuri's flashback intensifies, transporting him back. Images of fire and destruction flash before him. A city burns, engulfed in flames. Yuri's expression is one of horror as he relives these traumatic moments. The intensity of the memories leaves Yuri visibly shaken as he confronts the haunting scenes from his past. He finds himself reliving the chaos of war, standing amidst the burning ruins of Brial. Why is Brial burning? He wonders aloud. Soldiers shout, "The third prince," as they recognize him. Yuri, the last remaining prince, is caught in the turmoil. The Imperial Army's presence looms. Yuri's expression is a mix of determination and sorrow. He raises his hand as if trying to grasp the reality of his past. He stands amidst the chaos, watching the city burn. Soldiers are visible in the distance. Yuri is confronted with his past, the haunting reality of Brial's destruction. It feels all too real, like he's been transported back to the day of the attack. Confused, he wonders aloud what's happening. Suddenly, an assailant lunges at him from behind, shouting for him to die. The attacker calls him the Prince of Brial. Yuri battles fiercely against the soldiers attacking him as he defends himself with swift, powerful moves. One soldier lunges, but Yuri counters with a sharp strike. As the flames roar, a voice calls out, urging Yuri to escape. "Your Highness will hold them off. Use this chance to escape." Despite the urgency, Yuri hesitates, questioning if this is all just a dream. Amidst it all, Yuri hears another desperate plea, "Your Highness, run." The urgency is clear, yet Yuri remains conflicted. Suddenly, a soldier strikes at him. Yuri reacts instinctively, countering with a powerful move. As Yuri stands amidst the burning wreckage, he wonders again, was it all just a dream? Yuri stands amidst the fiery ruins, his resolve seemingly shattered. The thought that Brial's fall is inevitable weighs on him. In the end, Brial is destined to fall, he thinks. He looks down, his sword reflecting the destruction around him. The realization sinks in, he believes it can't be stopped. But then a memory surfaces, the vow he made. This promise reignites a spark within him. His eyes narrow with determination. The weight of his oath pulls him back from the brink of despair. He recalls his vow to never fear the enemy. Memories of the skeleton knight flash through his mind. He remembers the words, "Do what you believe in, fulfill your duty to the very end." Yuri charges forward, his sword blazing with energy as he rushes at the enemies, ready to face them head-on. He slashes through the soldiers surrounding him. The enemies fall back, unable to withstand his relentless assault. Yuri continues his battle, skillfully dodging fatal blows while countering with precision. Yuri remains focused. His enemies taunt him, declaring him a dead man and urging him to surrender. Despite their words, Yuri remains resolute. He recalls the vow that fuels his spirit. Brial will never throw away its honor. This strengthens his resolve, and he prepares to continue the fight. Yuri stands firm, his resolve is clear. Even if it means death, he will fight to fulfill Brial's duty. He charges forward, clashing with his enemies. Suddenly, Yuri finds himself back at his father's training ground. His father approaches, placing a hand on Yuri's shoulder and asks if Yuri can hear him. Yuri stands quietly, eyes glowing red, still mentally fighting the battle. Yuri snaps back to reality, visibly shaken. His father stands before him. Yuri, still trembling, looks at him with confusion. His father reassures him, explaining that everything he experienced was merely an illusion. Yuri takes a deep breath, trying to calm himself. His father acknowledges that the intense experience was just an illusion and admits he was wrong in his judgment. With a firm yet supportive tone, he tells Yuri that he will take up the sword. Yuri stands confidently, declaring his decision. His father watches him with a mix of emotions. Yuri notices this change and wonders why his father suddenly looks so concerned. He muses that anyone observing might think he just agreed to something dire. Yuri tries to lighten the mood by patting his father on the back, reassuring him not to worry. He confidently claims he's a genius. His father, however, doesn't seem amused. He raises his fist, and the next moment, Yuri is sent flying through the air, letting out a scream. Yuri returns to the training grounds, rubbing a massive bump on his head. Bernard notices him and looks surprised. He calls out to Yuri, addressing him with concern. Yuri seems a bit embarrassed but tries to play it cool despite the obvious injury. Bernard approaches Yuri. He asks whose idea it was, and Yuri admits it was his father's. Bernard jokes that His Majesty seems to be in a generous mood but warns Yuri that he won't ease up on his training. Yuri recalls that Bernard stayed in Brial because of a duel with his father. Bernard confirms this, acknowledging the condition of his stay. Yuri asks Bernard if he would stay even without the chance to duel with his father. Bernard straight up says no, then with a hint of humor, remarks that it seems like Yuri wants him to stay. He suggests that if Yuri can show him something tempting enough, he might consider it. Bernard leaves the offer open-ended. With a thoughtful expression, Bernard suggests to Yuri that he could be tempted to stay if Yuri teaches him the legendary swordsmanship of the founder, Erich Brial. Yuri and Bernard are outside discussing swordsmanship. Bernard's hyped to learn the founder's swordsmanship, but Yuri tells him to chill. It's a tough skill to master. Bernard, though, is all in and insists on learning it. Yuri acknowledges Bernard's reputation as the sword demon, but doubts the technique's usefulness for him. Bernard's not having it, determined to learn even if he can't fully master it, but Yuri stays skeptical. Yuri stands there, explaining that his swordsmanship is basically intertwined with a mana method. Bernard's mind is blown. He's never seen anything like it. Usually, mana methods just boost swordsmanship, not merge with it. Yuri explains this fusion is why the technique's hard to pass down. It'd always be incomplete if someone else tried to learn it. Yuri offers Bernard a shot at his unique swordsmanship, even if it's incomplete. Bernard's all in, agreeing to stay in Brial as a condition. He's confident he can grasp part of the technique, and Yuri's impressed by his determination. Yuri agrees to the conditions, reminding Bernard he must stay in Brial. Bernard nods and asks Yuri to show off the technique. Yuri gears up to demonstrate Simhincham, his sword glowing with energy. Just as he's about to start, Bernard casually drops that he was planning to stay in Brial anyway. His Majesty wants him there for at least 10 more years. This revelation catches Yuri off guard. Bernard, unfazed, nudges Yuri to keep going, asking if he's gonna attack. Yuri's annoyed at Bernard for the curveball. Despite this, Bernard dives into the fight without hesitation. Yuri, caught off guard, questions Bernard's sudden move, but Bernard's already swinging, forcing Yuri to adapt fast. Bernard's sword, glowing with blue energy, meets Yuri's weapon in a powerful strike. Yuri, frustrated and surprised, comments on Bernard's timing. Their sword's impact sends shockwaves through the air. Cut to a serene view of a grand building under a colorful sky. Yuri lies in bed, reflecting on the changes in his life. He realizes the future has already swerved from what he remembers. Thoughts of the past mistake leading to Brial's downfall cross his mind, but now, a different future seems possible. Bernard staying in Brial is proof of this change. The idea of altering the future, once vague, now feels tangible to Yuri. Yuri knows things are getting better, but it's not enough yet. He resolves to stop the Empire this time. A maid approaches, reminding Yuri of his schedule. She points out that he causes trouble daily and seems unaware of his commitments. She drops the news about an important meeting with the Elders' Council tomorrow. Surprised, Yuri realizes he wasn't aware of this. The maid mentions His Majesty expects him there. Yuri, caught off guard, reacts with frustration. The maid reminds Yuri to hit the meeting first thing in the morning. She warns him some Elders' Council members might be intimidating and uptight. Concerned, she advises Yuri not to punch anyone. Yuri reassures her, saying he's not like that anymore. The maid seeks confirmation, and Yuri confidently promises she doesn't need to worry. In the grand meeting room, the Elders' Council sits around a long table. The vibe is tense. One member, visibly angry, slams his fist on the table, exclaiming Ina was right after all. The others stay silent. Duke Genard voices concerns, saying it's inappropriate for the prince to learn an unverified mana method. Meanwhile, Yuri reflects on the council's purpose. Meant for national affairs, it now seems to obstruct royal authority. This realization helps him get why his father avoided these meetings in the past. Duke suggests someone else should learn the Brial method instead of Yuri. Another council member jumps in, challenging Duke by asking if he's doubting the prince. Tension rises as Duke tries to justify, masking doubts with a loyalty facade. Yuri stands confidently, expressing his mock gratitude to Duke Genard for gathering the whole council just to debate his mana method. He notes Duke's past of bowing to the emperor after Brial's fall. Duke Genard turns to Saint, the royal guard captain, for his take. Saint hesitates, admitting he can't say for sure. Duke presses, questioning Saint's uncertainty. Saint responds cautiously, giving a ChatGPT-like answer that every mana method has its pros and cons, and people's affinities vary. Duke points out even the royal guard captain is unsure, insisting this proves the method's unreliable and demands its dismissal. Another voice counters, clarifying Saint didn't imply the method was dangerous. Instead, he meant each mana method has its own value. The debate continues and heats up as another man argues Duke's worried the mana method might harm Yuri. Another person dismisses this, claiming it's the same argument. Tension fills the room as Yuri watches, realizing the tides turned against him. Despite the pretense of concern for his well-being, it's clear the motives are more self-serving. One by one, they express support for dismissing the mana method. Yuri notes the growing consensus, understanding the precarious position he's in. Yuri reflects on his situation, realizing his mana core is already deeply integrated due to his practice with the mana method. He worries about the fallout if he's forced to stop using it. The techniques become a part of him, and he can't easily explain this to the others. As he contemplates his next move, someone nearby comments on his boldness, acknowledging Yuri's ability to speak confidently. This newcomer, Free Baron Calcio Arantia, confidently asks to speak. With a calm demeanor, he poses a question to the room, inquiring how many among them have actually fought an orc in person, challenging the others and shifting the focus away from Yuri. Duke Bernard, clearly not vibing with Calcio Arantia's earlier comment, asks for his rank. Calcio, standing with that main character energy, introduces himself as a free baron. This catches Duke Bernard off guard, and he questions how a free baron could even be at the Council of Elders. Calcio explains that Count Sidor sent him. Duke Bernard recalls that Count Sidor, known as the Border Count, earned his title by defending Brial's borders and fighting on the front lines, basically a Sigma soldier who couldn't care less about noble gatherings. Curious, Duke Bernard asks why Count Sidor sent a representative to the council. Calcio admits that Count Sidor doesn't exactly spill the tea on his decisions, but by observing the nobles, he starts to piece together why he was chosen. Calcio addresses Prince Yuri, saying that on the battlefield, the type of mana method doesn't matter much, it's the person who wields it that counts. He asks Yuri for his thoughts. Our boy Yuri confidently states his intention to master the mana method of the kingdom's founding king, questioning why it's controversial. Calcio boldly remarks that those without authority or responsibility shouldn't critique Yuri's decision, suggesting that desk-bound scholars who haven't experienced battle firsthand shouldn't comment. Duke comments on Calcio's bluntness. Calcio apologizes for his lack of manners, explaining that fighting orcs at the border daily has made him this way. He again questions how many present have actually faced orcs, emphasizing that orcs don't care about mana methods. Someone acknowledges Calcio's point, but suggests that Prince Yuri might lack judgment due to his youth. Yuri, unfazed, questions if they think he's made a poor decision and insists that changing his mana method is impossible. He makes it clear he won't back down. Calcio asks the nobles if they intend to forcibly remove Prince Yuri's core, as it's already developed. He points out the futility of their suggestions and asks Yuri if he agrees. Yuri seems satisfied with Calcio's stance. Duke is infuriated by Calcio's remarks, calling them insolent. Calcio retorts, highlighting the daily deaths of soldiers at the border and emphasizing that there are more pressing matters than the nobles' concerns. He criticizes the capital for having too much free time, implying their ignorance of the ongoing sacrifices at the border. Calcio shares a personal story to emphasize the gravity of the situation. He reveals that a soldier who died that morning was a friend he had shared breakfast with. Calcio had personally laid his friend to rest. He explains that the orcs, driven by battle and bloodshed, have been causing significant damage. Recent tensions between Betrayal and the Klein Duchy have worsened the situation, allowing orcs to cross the borders amidst the chaos. Calcio notes that their movements have become more ominous, underscoring the urgent need for attention to these threats rather than the nobles' disputes. Yuri questions Calcio about the situation with the Klein Duchy, asking if Klein had stationed troops at the border. Calcio explains that the border guards suddenly withdrew, leaving the area vulnerable. Yuri inquires about the nearby border villages. Calcio grimly reveals they were completely destroyed, with people either slaughtered or taken as slaves. Yuri considers the timing of these events, wondering if it could be linked to a civil war or a mistake by Duke's third son. Yuri suggests they move on, highlighting more urgent matters like defending against the Duchy of Klein and the orcs. As he leaves, Duke is visibly furious, clenching his fists. The tension in the room can be felt as Yuri exits, leaving the others to contemplate the pressing threats. Scene shift to Calcio sitting at a desk, communicating with his superior through a crystal ball. He reports everything Yuri said, noting that Yuri isn't the same as he used to be. The superior listens intently. Calcio emphasizes rumors about Yuri's change, suggesting a shift in his demeanor or abilities. The conversation hints at underlying concerns and the potential impact of Yuri's transformation on their plans. Calcio continues his report, mentioning that Yuri's eyes didn't seem unusual, but acknowledges the need to keep a close watch. Count Sidor, his superior, instructs him to investigate further. Calcio confirms there's not much info yet, but is willing to dig deeper. As the conversation wraps, Calcio looks out the window and spots Prince Yuri casually strolling through the streets with Hernando, having snuck out of the palace. Yuri finds the situation thrilling, reminiscing about his childhood escapades when he often ran away from home. Hernando teases him about his past as a delinquent youth. Hernando notices a young girl staring at them, wondering if they've been caught. Yuri questions Hernando's excitement, pointing out that he can leave the palace whenever he wishes. Hernando jokingly asks if their plan involves something mischievous. Yuri, with a playful grin, reveals their destination, the biggest illegal casino in the capital. Hernando is surprised, reminding Yuri of his earlier claim to avoid trouble. Yuri insists he won't do anything bad and urges Hernando to guide him, knowing Hernando is familiar with the place. Hernando admits that when he gets blackout drunk, he often ends up there. Yuri reassures him, stating their visit is all for the sake of Betrayal. Hernando, with a mix of excitement and disbelief, asks Yuri how much money he plans to take from the casino. Hernando seems more than ready for the adventure ahead. In Yuri's past life, Betrayal was shaped by some real powerful figures. There was the underworld boss, a massive loan shark, and a business tycoon who founded the continent's largest trading company. Among them was a legendary assassin, known for taking out the underworld boss and turning Betrayal into a place of fear. Cut to the present, and Goryo, the most notorious loan shark, is standing in his establishment, welcoming Yuri and Hernando with a sly smile. He knows exactly who they are, the royal mage and the third prince, and considers it an honor to host them. Our boy Yuri, with a determined look, tells Goryo he's not there to gamble. Amused, Goryo invites them to sit, recognizing the importance of the conversation. Hernando, visibly anxious, points out they aren't gambling and that Yuri never mentioned this change of plans. Yuri calmly tells him to chill. Goryo asks why Yuri is really there, wondering if he needs to borrow money. Yuri confirms, explaining he plans to invest it. Goryo notes Yuri's ambition to build private funds and questions why he came to him instead of a bank. Yuri firmly tells Goryo that questioning him isn't his job. Goryo quickly apologizes and Yuri lets it go, acknowledging he's the one in need. Goryo asks what Yuri plans to do with the money. Yuri reveals his intention to buy magranza, a spice from the Klein Mountains, predicting high demand. Goryo is surprised by Yuri's ambitious plan. He considers the potential rise in spice prices due to the civil war. Hernando doubts the prices will increase significantly, questioning the wisdom of investing so much in magranza. But Yuri remains confident, believing in his plan to corner the market. Goryo starts to see Yuri differently, realizing he's not as foolish as rumored. Yuri proposes they decide on the loan amount, clarifying he's asking as an investor, not a prince. Goryo asks Yuri to sign a note to formalize their agreement. Yuri signs without hesitation. As they leave, Hernando is surprised Yuri actually borrowed money from Goryo. Walking through the dim streets, Hernando expresses frustration about the situation. Yuri, smiling slightly, admits he didn't warn Hernando because he might have reported him to his father. Hernando asks if they're heading to the guild. Yuri confirms, saying he has more to do. Yuri reflects on Magranza, knowing it's set to be profitable. The only alchemist who knew how to process it has died, leaving a market gap. Until a replacement is found, Yuri can set the price. But he needs someone trustworthy. Yuri and Hernando arrive at a shabby building. Hernando is skeptical about the location. Yuri calls out for Iraine Wood, hoping she's inside. The place seems deserted, but Yuri knocks, determined. Iraine Wood opens the door, curious about Yuri and Hernando. She doesn't recognize Yuri and asks who he is. Yuri confidently introduces himself as the third prince and says he has a job for her. Iraine is surprised. Hernando is anxious, questioning Yuri's decision. Yuri points out Hernando's boldness in speaking to a prince like that. Hernando questions Yuri's choice to trust Iraine's small shop. Yuri is confident, believing Iraine will become the greatest merchant on the continent. He reflects on her integrity compared to Goryo's deceit. In his past life, Iraine became legendary, but this time, Yuri aims to elevate her further. Hernando assumes they're done, but Yuri says there's more to do. Hernando is surprised and urges Yuri to wait. Yuri, focused, knows he has allies, the lone shark and the great merchant, ready to help him achieve his goals. Yuri navigates through a rough area marked by poverty and crime. He searches intently, convinced what he's looking for is close. His determination pays off as he finds it. He approaches a group in the shadows and greets them with a simple hello. The group looks up, curious and cautious. Yuri introduces himself as the third Prince of Betrayal. One of them questions his identity and Yuri confirms it. He stands before Asuna, the legendary assassin who killed Goryo in his past life. Asuna looks at Yuri. Asuna and Yuri are chilling outside, having a chat. Asuna's all confused about why the prince is hanging around. Yuri tells her to calm down, saying he met some kids in need during an inspection tour. Nearby, Hernando just wants to go home. His impatience is like super obvious. Yuri hands Asuna a fat bag of cash and says, "Here you go." Asuna's surprised and grateful. In her past life, she borrowed a ton from Goryo to help a kid, which totally wrecked her life. Our boy Yuri remembers this and is set on changing her fate. He gives her the money, explaining he wants to switch up the start of her rough journey. He tells her to use it for treatment at the temple. Asuna, holding the bag, asks what he wants in return, sounding curious and a bit skeptical. Yuri confidently says he only wants her to remember his name. Yuri Betrayal, the third Prince of Betrayal. Nearby, Hernando questions why Yuri gave such a large sum to beggars. Yuri, deadass, says it's an investment for the future. Yuri reflects on his progress, feeling confident he's gathered the squad he needs for his plan. But he knows there's still one person left to deal with. Cut to later that night, Yuri approaches Hernando with a question. He asks about Hernando's experience at the Founder's Relic site. Hernando casually mentions he was gambling at the Imperial Basraga's casino, risking his life on games. Yuri finds this fitting, saying it's just like him. Yuri advises Hernando to be careful about his behavior. Hernando listens as Yuri emphasizes the importance of caution. The scene shifts to a bright day. Hernando stands before the king, who demands an explanation for leaving the capital with Yuri the previous night. Hernando confirms he left with Yuri, explaining they ended up at a casino. The king listens seriously as Hernando recounts the events. Hernando explains their visit to the largest casino in the capital, telling him they went there to gamble. Despite Yuri's card skills, they lost all the money. The king listens, skeptical, as Hernando continues. Hernando details Yuri's actions after the casino. He says Yuri gave borrowed money to a shabby shop and a significant sum to an orphan he didn't know. Yuri seemed interested in observing citizens' lives. The king listens intently and asks if they returned to the palace afterward. Hernando confirms they did. He finishes his account, saying that's all. The king, thoughtful, processes the information and simply says, "I see," remaining silent in contemplation. After Hernando's report, he asks if he'll attend the upcoming ball. Hernando confidently says he will. The king is surprised, noting Hernando's previous lack of interest. Hernando smiles, saying people can change their minds and he feels like dancing for once. Yuri is at the training grounds with Bernard, sparring under the bright sun. Yuri comments on Bernard's popularity, noting the maid's sneaking glances at him. Bernard, surprised, pauses at the remark. Yuri suggests Bernard attend the ball, saying many, especially the baddies, would want to see him there. Bernard dismisses the idea like the Chad he is, focusing on their sword training instead. He emphasizes the importance of the technique they're practicing. Bernard agrees with Yuri that the technique doesn't have a fixed form and flows naturally. They focus on perfecting their skills, not social events. Bernard explains the mana method is essentially a sword technique, but mastering it seems daunting. He says he needs to observe Yuri in real combat to understand it. Bernard praises Yuri's growth and affinity with mana, admitting he's amazed. Yuri, feeling a bit guilty, says his senses sharpened while trying to erase traces of the Betrayal method he learned in his past life. Bernard advises Yuri to take it slow, emphasizing patience in training. Bernard expresses concern that while Yuri is progressing rapidly, his body might not keep up. He acknowledges Yuri's impressive achievements for his age, but warns his body isn't fully matured. Yuri promises to pace himself to avoid issues. Yuri suggests another round with Bernard, proposing they use real blades. His urgency is clear as he wants to get stronger quickly. Yuri and Bernard prepare to fight. Yuri proposes a bet. If he lands one hit, Bernard must attend the ball. Confident, Bernard insists he'll win. Yuri, skeptical, points out Bernard's history of not keeping promises. Undeterred, Yuri challenges Bernard to see if this time will be different. They engage in a duel, swords clashing. Yuri charges forward, determined to land a hit, but Bernard skillfully deflects every attack. Despite Yuri's efforts, he can't land a blow. The fight ends with Yuri acknowledging his defeat. That day, he didn't land a single hit. A few days later, the day of the ball arrives. A grand carriage approaches an opulent venue. Inside, a man in a red uniform sits, his face partially obscured by the light. Nearby, a woman with blonde hair gazes out the window, captivated. The carriage continues to the venue. Inside, the second imperial prince, George Ivarnagranzian, looks out the window, calm but with a hint of anticipation. He mentions how long it's been since such an event and expresses eagerness to attend. Beside him, the imperial princess, Ekaterina Ivarnagranzian, shares his excitement. Her eyes are bright as she looks out, echoing George's sentiments about the evening. Both siblings are clearly looking forward to the ball, each with their own expectations for the night. Our boy Yuri is in his room, getting all dressed up for the ball. His maid is helping him out, but he's feeling like a walking Christmas tree. It's too much. Too many decorations, it looks messy, he says, clearly not vibing with his fit. His maid, probably used to this drama, tells him it looks fine and reminds him he used to dig this style. After a few more tweaks, she steps back, satisfied. "They're all done, Your Highness," she says like a true pro. Yuri then asks Ina, his maid, to be his dance partner for practice. She's not exactly thrilled and even questions if they really need to dance together. Yuri, noticing her reluctance, jokingly asks if she's planning to step on his feet or trip him on purpose. Despite her lack of enthusiasm, he offers his hand, waiting for her answer. They start dancing, and Ina assures Yuri she's not joking around, confidently telling him to follow her lead. Yuri is surprised by her confidence and asks if she's underestimating him. Ina reveals she's actually quite skilled at dancing. Curious, Yuri asks about her past dance experiences. During their practice, Ina comments on Yuri's height, saying she's never danced with someone as short as him before. The height difference becomes an issue when Ina accidentally steps on Yuri's foot, apologizing with a playful tone, claiming she slipped. Cut to the grand ball where everything's fancy and lively. Musicians are playing and couples are gliding across the dance floor. The king is chilling in a throne-like chair, sipping wine. Sidor makes a notable entrance, drawing attention like he owns the place. Conversations pause as people acknowledge him. Yuri notices Sidor, remembering that in his previous life he didn't attend the ball. Yuri approaches his bro with concern, asking if his eyesight is worsening since he's wearing glasses more often. His brother brushes it off, telling Yuri not to worry. George Varnagranzian enters the hall with a commanding presence, his red cape flowing like he's in a superhero movie. He greets Yuri's father, expressing gratitude for the warm welcome and mentioning he's arrived with his younger sister. Yuri's attention is drawn to Ekaterina, elegantly dressed and moving through the crowd. Her graceful demeanor catches his eye. She greets His Majesty politely and Yuri softly says her name, Ekaterina. Yuri stands in the ballroom, memories of past mistakes with Ekaterina on his mind. Determined not to repeat them, he resolves to keep his distance. Yuri stands by the refreshment table, watching the lively scene. He reflects on Cedric's kindness and his own shortcomings in social grace. As he eats cookies, he watches Cedric dance gracefully, admired by many, which highlights Yuri's self-doubt. Yuri considers approaching Ekaterina but hesitates. Someone else speaks with her first, leaving him frustrated. He mutters to himself, questioning why he lingers on a doomed relationship. Ina approaches Yuri, offering more cookies. Her presence distracts him from his thoughts and she smiles warmly, trying to cheer him up. Yuri thanks Ina, acknowledging her hard work. Ina jokes that it's nothing compared to cleaning up after someone daily. Yuri, eager for more cookies, tells her to skip the chatter and just hand them over. Ina smiles, offering to bring more if needed. Yuri is approached by George Ivarnagranzian, the Empire's second prince. Yuri is taken aback, recognizing his reputation as a formidable leader. Yuri introduces himself humbly as the third prince of Betrayal, aware that George led Betrayal to its downfall in his past life. He maintains his composure, choosing not to show hostility yet. George comments on Yuri's age, noting he's just 13. Despite his youth, George acknowledges Yuri as truly being Fior's son. As George walks away, he reflects on Yuri's talent, impressed by his abilities at such a young age. Yuri, however, is frustrated, feeling George's move was too threatening to be just a test. He clenches his fist, finding George and his sibling formidable and unpleasant. Meanwhile, Ina accidentally spills wine on George Ivarna's imperial emblem. Shocked, she drops to her knees, overwhelmed by her mistake. She apologizes profusely, clearly distressed. George assesses the situation, his expression changing as he processes what happened. He turns to Ina, who remains on her knees, visibly shaken. He draws his sword and remarks on her mistake. George coldly states that according to imperial law, the punishment for Ina's mistake would be execution. Yuri realizes that George provoked Ina intentionally. George accuses her of making a mistake, and Ina is visibly shaken as George Ivarna mentions execution. Yuri's father steps in, questioning George's intentions and insisting that any bloodshed should not happen at his event. George asks the king of Betrayal for understanding and reminds him of the respect between the Empire and Betrayal. He brings up a past incident where the king executed an Empire knight. George stands firm, comparing the current situation to the past event. He emphasizes that his actions are necessary to preserve peace and honor. Ina is about to be executed, but our boy Yuri is determined to stop it. He recalls his oath to protect and uphold honor. Despite the threat, Betrayal will not forsake its honor even if it means death. Yuri steps forward, interrupting the proceedings. He tells the prince that Ina is under his protection and takes full responsibility for her actions. He acknowledges her faults but claims them as his own, reminding everyone of Betrayal's oath. Yuri stands firm, true to his royal blood despite his limited power. He asks for the execution to be withdrawn and requests a trial by combat. George Ivarna bursts into laughter, not taking the challenge seriously. George and Yuri face each other. George then seriously asks if he can call Yuri by his first name. Yuri agrees, staying composed. George acknowledges Yuri's objection and accepts the challenge. He says he won't fight directly but will appoint a champion. Yuri's father agrees to the terms of the duel. George informs Yuri that he will send the youngest squire to match Yuri's age for the duel. Yuri thanks George for the consideration and George acknowledges this, saying they'll meet at the duel. Yuri instructs Ina to get up, showing concern for her well-being. Ina hesitates but listens to Yuri's reassurance. Yuri notices Ekaterina across the room. He reflects briefly before moving on. Yuri walks through the palace deep in thought. The evening light filters through the windows. Yuri's older brother confronts him, questioning his actions. Yuri explains he couldn't watch Ina die and felt he had no choice. His brother listens, praising Yuri's determination. The brother offers to help with Yuri's trial opponent. Yuri insists on handling it himself, confident in his abilities. His brother trusts Yuri but remains concerned. His brother addresses Yuri by his full name. Yuri reassures him about the situation and advises him to rest. As they part, Yuri thanks his brother, reflecting on how things might have been different if the Empire hadn't destroyed their homeland. He wonders what kind of country it could have been. His brother would have been king if things didn't turn out like they did his past. Yuri stands determined, vowing to do things right this time. The scene shifts to a bright sky. Yuri stands on the battlefield, facing a skilled opponent. The crowd is concerned about Yuri, but Hernando smiles confidently, telling them to watch. Yuri, calm and determined, prepares to face the challenge. Hernando, apparently a wizard with some next-level skills, got his powers from the Heaven's Mandate observation formula. Basically, a cheat code for seeing through opponents' strategies and even sensing their luck. But even with all that, our boy Hernando had problems when he lost money in a game for the first time. He couldn't read Yuri's intentions or luck, which piqued his interest. Hernando recalls a vision through Jeomsan's eyes, where he saw a black-haired, black-eyed figure from the Betrayal royal family, identified as the third prince. Despite severe injuries, the prince fought on until he collapsed. This vision made Hernando suspect something about Yuri, who he realized has no fate. As Hernando processes this, someone asks why he's smiling. He tells them to calm, saying there's no need to worry. Meanwhile, our boy Yuri stands confidently, declaring he's ready for a trial by combat. When asked if he needs more prep time, Yuri insists he's good to go. Yuri and his opponent face off. Yuri charges forward, landing a surprising cut with his first strike. The Majesty observes and asks Hernando for his thoughts on the fight. Hernando admits he doesn't know who will win. As the battle continues, the Majesty and Hernando chat. The Majesty asks about Hernando's purpose in Betrayal, hinting at whether it's time for him to go. Hernando reassures him that he's not planning to leave, appreciating the high regard he's held in. The Majesty warns Hernando about the dangers of excessive humility. Hernando asks who the Majesty thinks is stronger in the fight. The Majesty seems thoughtful. As the battle goes on, Yuri's opponent seems to have the upper hand. Hernando reflects on his initial journey to Betrayal, believing it was destiny. He mentions the strongest person on the continent was present, but since the sword was never drawn, he felt there was no reason to stay. Yuri decides it's time to get serious and activates his power, cranking up his speed dramatically. His opponent is caught off guard as Yuri's movements become a blur. Just as Yuri's sword is about to strike, he halts his attack, leaving everyone in shock. The spectators gasp, unable to comprehend the sudden pause. Yuri stands firm, his sword inches from his opponent's neck. The crowd watches in stunned silence, trying to understand Yuri's restraint. His opponent looks at Yuri with relief and disbelief. Yuri stands victorious, his decision to spare his opponent resonating with everyone. The crowd erupts in celebration, acknowledging his triumph and unexpected mercy. Amidst the cheers, Yuri is hailed as extraordinary, defying the fate decreed by heaven. Hernando expresses admiration, eager to see how Yuri will continue to change the world. Yuri, with a confident smile, basks in the moment, knowing his journey is far from over. As the maid hurries, she's stopped by a member of the Betrayal family, marked by his black hair, a symbol of royalty. He questions her presence and she struggles to remain calm, recalling her training to handle such situations. The man presses her for answers and she remembers the advice. A stern expression means he's the king, a gentle smile means he's the crown prince. This helps her stay composed as she identifies him as the third prince, known for his shady gaze and confident swagger. He accuses her of mocking him and she stammers, trying to explain her presence. The maid sarcastically suggests there might be a guidebook about him, implying it would advise avoiding him. His mood darkens and he warns her she'll be taught a lesson today. Suddenly, Yuri arrives, exuding confidence with a sword at his side. The maid realizes her mistake. This is the real Yuri. He questions the prince about his intentions. The maid recalls that someone confident with a sword must be Yuri, and the tension shifts as his presence changes the dynamic. Yuri walks across the palace grounds confidently. He pauses, reflecting on his progress and recalling a moment of gratitude for the maid who packed him a tasty snack as thanks for his protection. He focuses on his new skills in the bare-hand realm, using mana to reduce pressure on his hands while holding a sword. This is a significant milestone for him, and he feels accomplished. Yuri reflects on the 5 years since he regressed, remembering being pierced by Laurent's sword, a pivotal event leading to his return. He senses that peaceful days might be ending, anticipating upcoming changes or challenges. Outside a room, Yuri hears someone inside screaming in frustration. He knocks, but the noise from a nearby meeting drowns him out. He forcefully opens the door, startling those inside. His father seems unfazed, used to such displays. Yuri apologizes, explaining he knocked but got no response, admitting he was a bit too forceful. Someone comments that it wasn't knocking at all. He informs his father he'll attend the meeting too. As the meeting resumes, the discussion revolves around troop deployment, with one member stating their territory lacks spare troops for the Alliance army. Another questions if they'll ignore the Empire's request, suggesting other territories contribute more. This sparks anger, with someone calling it irresponsible. The argument highlights how everyone is focused on their own gains rather than cooperating. Yuri recalls a similar situation from his past life. The Empire requested troops to subjugate orcs in the east, but the Alliance failed. The orcs retaliated, pressuring all participating nations except the Empire. Determined not to repeat history, Yuri declares no soldiers will be sent from their land. As others question the decision, suggesting they have plenty of knights, Yuri firmly asserts his decision. Yuri stands before the nobles, announcing his intention to join the Alliance army himself. He urges them to show sincerity and fulfill their duties as nobles, invoking the name of Betrayal to remind them not to bring shame upon themselves. His father seems pleased with Yuri's bold decision. Back at the training grounds, Yuri's brother approaches him, questioning his decision to join the army. Yuri calmly responds, reminding him it's the royal family's duty. Surprised, his brother acknowledges Yuri's resolve and promises to protect the palace in his absence. Yuri listens, taking in his brother's words. Bernard, Yuri's teacher, stands with him, remarking on the touching moment. Bernard advises caution, expressing confidence that Yuri will return safely if he avoids recklessness. Yuri appreciates Bernard's confidence, thanking him for his support. Bernard insists on caution, reminding Yuri that orcs are tricky. Bernard explains the orcs' formidable nature, especially those with banners on their backs known as Orkbull. Yuri reassures Bernard that he has a plan. Bernard, curious, asks about this plan. Ina, the maid, interrupts, calling out to Yuri, informing him that guests have arrived and they've brought something he ordered. Yuri and Bernard continue their conversation, with Bernard intrigued by Yuri's strategy. Yuri hints that the delivery is crucial to his plan, suggesting he has everything under control. Outside, the vice president of the Elaine Trading Company rolls up chatting about the special delivery. Inside an extravagant room, the man strolls in, adjusts his suit, and greets the prince. He introduces himself as the vice president of the Elaine Trading Company, setting the stage for the delivery. His name is Guillermo, explaining he's here on behalf of Elaine. They chat about her dedication to fieldwork before Guillermo hands over the item Yuri requested. Yuri is excited to finally hold the four-wheel blade. Guillermo questions its value, thinking it's just a fancy piece. Yuri clarifies it's a relic with ancient magic, flexing its magic with a blue glow. Yuri reassures the startled man that the blade is harmless. Guillermo is amazed and asks if Yuri is controlling it with mana. Yuri confirms his power, dismissing any notion that he spends his days idly. He tells Guillermo to send his regards to Elaine and asks for a report on the Imperial branch's progress. Guillermo acknowledges and prepares to leave with his new side quest. As Guillermo dips, Yuri invites someone lurking in the room to step out. Asuna, the assassin, emerges from the shadows. She reports completing her task, leaving a warning letter by Goryo's pillow as instructed. Yuri is satisfied, noting Goryo's tendency to seek Elaine's money. Asuna asks if Yuri plans to join the Allied forces. Yuri confirms and Asuna advises caution. Yuri, unfazed, comments on her detached tone, prompting Asuna to question his meaning. Yuri invites Asuna to join him, asking if she can keep up. Asuna agrees, saying anywhere is better than where she came from. Fast forward a few days to deployment day. Yuri's brother expresses concern, wishing for Yuri's safe return. Yuri reassures his brother, promising to restore their family name. He advises him to take study breaks and care for his eyes. They share a hug and Yuri promises to return. Yuri approaches his father, who asks if he's nervous. Yuri confidently says he's not. His father gestures to the vast army, reminding Yuri of his responsibility and the lives at stake. He emphasizes the importance of their mission and asks if Yuri is ready. Yuri stands firm, affirming his readiness. Suddenly, he senses a powerful, ominous presence. It's a killing intent like nothing he's felt before. He tries to comprehend the threat, realizing it's death itself. Yuri's father warns him that running from fear leads to death. Yuri listens, prepping for the challenge. The atmosphere shifts. Yuri senses the ominous presence again, more intense. His father, embodying the threat, charges at him with a sword. Yuri channels his energy, surrounded by a blue aura. Determined, Yuri meets his father's attack. Their swords clash with power. Yuri holds his ground, successfully defending. Yuri's father looks at him with pride, acknowledging his endurance. He tells Yuri there's no need for words and urges him to return alive. Yuri nods in understanding. Yuri steps forward, leading his army. He declares himself as the third prince, Yuri Betrayal, ready for the challenges ahead. The soldiers rally behind him, inspired by his resolve. Yuri stands before his troops, urging them to believe in him. His words energize the soldiers, who cheer in response. With a commanding shout, Yuri orders them to advance, and the army moves forward with determination. Meanwhile, in a dimly lit jail cell, Sidor stands before an imprisoned orc, gripping the bars. He reflects on the passage of time, gripping his sword tightly, reflecting on how it's been 5 years since he last investigated Yuri. The anticipation of the upcoming battle weighs on him, eager to meet Yuri, the third prince. Our boy Yuri and his men are chilling in a forest as the sun descends below the horizon. Yuri's seated, probably cooking up some strategy, while his crew stands by, ready for action. Yuri and Raymond talk about their journey. Yuri asks how far they've come, and Raymond says they're near Sidor's outskirts, close to the border. After guide, it's on to Balshard. Yuri's agrees with the pace. Suddenly, Yuri gets a jump scare. It's Laurent Flander, the guy who ended his life in another timeline. Laurent rolls up with a fancy intro as Jean de Laurent Flander, Count of Française. Yuri recognizes him immediately. Laurent says it's an honor to meet Yuri, and Yuri nods, still processing this plot twist. Laurent's got something he's been dying to say. Yuri, curious, asks what it is. Laurent spills that he's idolized Yuri since hearing about a 5-year-old incident from his dad, calling Yuri his idol. Yuri's caught off guard by the fanboy moment. Laurent recounts the tale of Yuri defending his maid, calling Yuri's sword skills peak knighthood. Laurent's admiration is clear, and he mentions hearing about Yuri's reputation from his dad, Sir Lion. Yuri listens, a bit embarrassed but low-key grateful. Laurent eagerly says he's hyped to work with Yuri. Yuri humbly replies that it's his honor to roll with Laurent. Raymond steps in, telling Yuri it's time to bounce. Before they head out, he warns Yuri about Count Sidor, saying the dude's got the charm of a stone and not to take a cold welcome personally. As night falls, they roll up to a grand castle under the moonlight, a banner welcoming the third prince. Yuri arrives at the castle, commenting on the extra welcome. Sir James Theodore, the Margrave of Sidor, greets him, saying it's an honor to have the prince in the house. Yuri acknowledges the welcome and addresses Sir James with respect. James gives Yuri props for serving on the front lines at a young age, clearly impressed. James asks Yuri if he's ever thrown hands with orcs. Yuri admits he hasn't, but has done his homework, since most of their squad's lacking in orc experience. James finds Yuri's prep work admirable. James respectfully addresses Yuri as Your Highness and asks if he can offer him a gift. Yuri listens, intrigued by the gesture. Cut to a large door. Yuri stands before it, contemplating what kind of loot lies beyond. James leads Yuri and his crew through a dim corridor, torch in hand. The tension rises as they approach a large door. James gestures towards it, saying the gift's inside. Yuri, flanked by his guards, looks on, anticipation building. The door creaks open, revealing the surprise. The guards stay on high alert. Yuri and his squad face a large cage holding an orc. Yuri's guards are shook. Sir James explains that the orcs are prisoners for now, stressing the need to understand them for battle. Yuri asks if this is the gift James mentioned. James confirms, saying with the looming orc war, no gift could be more clutch. Yuri thanks James Sidor, but thinks Sidor's crazier than expected for torturing orcs like that. Nearby, Yuri asks a soldier for his name. The soldier introduces himself as Simon Pesh, son of Baron Wolf. Yuri demands Simon spill his thoughts. Simon hesitates but admits he thinks the treatment of the orcs is overkill for prisoners of war. Yuri acknowledges Simon's take and tells James to open the gate. Addressing Simon, Yuri confirms his identity and tells him this is the real deal. As the gate opens, Yuri orders Simon to square up with the orc. Simon stands his ground, facing the orc, which is losing its sanity. The orc's eyes blaze with fury and it roars like a beast. Bro grips his sword, ready for the clash. Simon watches as the orc bashes its head against the floor. He thinks it's lost its mind and turns away. Suddenly, the orc surprises him with a powerful punch, catching Simon off guard and showing just how unpredictable orcs can be. The orc tries to take Simon hostage. Simon, caught lacking, grunts in pain. Nearby guards react with alarm, shouting his name. Despite its injuries, the orc roars fiercely, showing it's not done yet. One guard tries to keep calm, urging everyone to chill. Another notes that most of the orc's tendons have been severed, hinting at its weakened state. Yuri observes silently. Sidor declares these are orcs. Sidor warns our boy Yuri about the orc, emphasizing its danger even with its injuries. He advises Yuri not to show any weakness, as the orc will exploit it. Despite being injured, the orc is still a threat, and Sidor urges caution. Yuri, concerned about the orc's intentions, asks if it might be trying to capture hostages. Sidor decides to call in Cory, an interpreter, to understand the orc's language. Cory arrives, ready to assist, and confirms the orc's threats. The orc warns that it will break the knight's bones unless the sword is put down immediately. Sidor calls Hernando to take action. Hernando steps forward and channels his magic, creating an opening around the orc. He signals Yuri to act. Yuri seizes the opportunity, rushing in to rescue Simon from the orc's grasp. With precise timing, Yuri pulls Simon to safety. Yuri praises Hernando's magic, saying, "Good job. The rescue is successful and Simon is safe." The orc, enraged by losing its hostage, growls furiously. Nearby, someone comments to Sir James that this orc isn't typical. Despite its smaller size, it seems experienced and formidable. Sidor recalls a haunting memory. When they captured the orc, it was in the middle of devouring a knight alive. This orc has a notorious reputation for killing many. Another character, filled with rage, declares their intent to kill the orc. Yuri tries to calm him, warning him to look behind. The scene shifts to reveal dozens of captured orcs, all waiting for a chance to strike. One character warns that the captured orc isn't the only danger. Attacking too soon could provoke more orcs. Yuri steps in, emphasizing the importance of staying focused. This is training, after all. The goal is to learn how to kill an orc. The soldiers brace themselves, gripping their weapons tightly. The orc charges. The soldiers move in unison, confronting the orc head-on, with the orc's strength meeting that of the soldiers. One soldier, determined and focused, charges forward, his weapon slicing through the air. The orc retaliates fiercely, but the soldier's agility allows him to dodge and counterattack with precision. The soldier lands a critical blow, causing the orc to stagger. The orc lunges at him, its massive fists swinging with force. The soldier narrowly dodges the strike and counters with a swift attack. Yuri addresses his men, acknowledging their hard work. He senses their reluctance and questions their mood. He explains that while their training might feel like experiments on defenseless opponents, it's crucial for their survival. Yuri urges them to be grateful to Sir James for this opportunity, despite any conflict with chivalry. Sidor leads Yuri and his soldiers down a dimly lit corridor, hinting at something more disturbing ahead. He reveals that what they've seen so far is merely the beginning. In the orc village, far worse atrocities are taking place. The group arrives at a grim scene, the aftermath of those horrors laid bare. One soldier reacts with shock and disbelief. Sidor reveals a group of half-orcs to Yuri and his soldiers. These creatures result from orcs capturing humans for entertainment. The sight is unsettling, with more half-orcs present than Yuri anticipated. Sidor explains the grim reality, noting their appearance and the orcs' cruel practices. One soldier reacts with disgust. Yuri asks Sidor if he harbors hatred for the orcs. Sidor stands firm, expressing his hatred for the orcs and vowing to despise them until his last breath. He remains silent, accustomed to the realities they face. Yuri reflects on how everyone has their own enemy. For him, it's the Empire. He speculates that for Sir James, the orcs are the true adversaries. Yuri recalls hearing about Sir James recovering his son's body from an orc village. Under a bright sky, Sidor calls Yuri, instructing the prince to bring someone before departing. Yuri addresses a cloaked figure, mentioning meeting Cory the previous day. He praises Cory for his talent and fluency in the orc language. The cloaked figure Cory seems to have something important to say, but Yuri interrupts, indicating he already knows. Yuri stands ready, receiving an item from Cory. The figure expresses eagerness to work together, hesitantly handing over something valuable. Yuri, clad in armor, is joined by Sir Raymond. They discuss their location at the border, with Raymond assuring Yuri that while there are monsters, there's no threat of surprise attacks. Raymond confirms that these creatures, like the orcs, pose no danger to the kingdom. With determination, Yuri declares their intent to eliminate the threat, setting the stage for the upcoming battle. In the dense forest, a man moves stealthily, leaving chaos in his wake. Nearby, a group of soldiers rides through the woods. The leader signals for them to halt, dismounting and drawing his weapon. Suddenly, the tranquility shatters as the man launches an attack. The soldiers struggle to fend off the unexpected assault. Our boy Yuri rides at the forefront of his army, with Hernando tagging along. Hernando's sweating bullets about the chaos that could pop off if the soldiers find out Cory is a half-orc, but he's sticking to Yuri's orders like the loyal sidekick he is. He recalls that Cory was assigned to him and just hopes it won't blow up in his face. Yuri's got his eyes glued to a map, plotting their next move. Yuri calls Jard over and drops the bomb that he's now in charge of scouting. Jard's not thrilled, mentioning the area is crawling with bandits. He questions if they really need to confront the bandits, suggesting they'll just flee if chased, but Yuri keeps insisting, blaming the bandits for border troubles. Yuri challenges Jard's confidence despite his talent. Jard points out that other soldiers get nervous, implying they're ineffective. Yuri humbly calls himself an inexperienced prince, but Jard knows Yuri's exceptional with a sword. Still, Jard feels Yuri might not fully understand the bandit threat. Jard rides off, promising to return soon. Yuri watches him go, looking pretty satisfied. A companion suggests Yuri might have a soft spot for Jard, but Yuri brushes it off, saying he's just dragging Jard along, though he seems a bit too pleased for that to be true. Yuri approaches Raymond with a deep question, asking why he fights. Raymond reflects and says his answer might be old-fashioned. Encouraged by Yuri, he replies, "Brial's peace." Yuri gives him the nod of approval, instructing Raymond to keep the pace while he goes to meet Jard. In a camp, captives are tied up. One cries out in pain, but Yuri commands silence. Yuri warns the captive to value his life, holding a knife to make sure the message hits home. Another soldier rolls up, saying they've found something important. Yuri and his partner observe the bandits' hideout. Yuri acknowledges Jard for finding it, but is suspicious of the captive scout, doubting his claim of being alone. Yuri presses him, questioning if his leader really sent him solo. The bandit, tied up and nervous, claims that he's at the bottom of the pecking order and doesn't know much. Yuri doubts him and inspects him closely. Suddenly, Yuri spots a glowing amulet and snatches it, causing the bandit to freak out. Yuri examines the amulet, asking if it belongs to the bandit. The bandit admits his boss told him to wear it on patrol. Suspecting it's got some magic, Yuri inquires about its powers. The bandit, overwhelmed, insists he knows nothing, his desperation clear as day. Yuri declares that if the bandit doesn't know about the amulet's powers, he'll get the info from the boss himself. Yuri decides to confront the leader directly. As the sun sets, Yuri and his gang roll out. A rider informs Yuri that troops are set up at the expected escape route and scouts are analyzing the opponent's forces. Yuri listens, making sure everything's locked and loaded for their next move. Yuri talks strategy with his men, suggesting they stir up chaos from within to trap their enemies. He urges them to advance quickly, warning that delays could cost them rewards. He charges forward, leading the squad through the forest. Yuri charges ahead solo, set on facing the bandits. His men warn it's risky, but Yuri's not slowing down. As he nears the camp, he rallies his men to charge forward with him. Yuri crashes into the bandits' camp, catching them off guard. One bandit questions the noise, but before they can react, Yuri lands among them, throwing their camp into chaos. Yuri stands confidently among the bandits, greeting them warmly with a bold smile. His unexpected friendliness throws them off. Meanwhile, Yuri's soldiers rush through the forest, calling out for the prince. At night, Yuri's got all the bandits captured and disarmed. He sits by a campfire, waiting. His men arrive, questioning his reckless moves. Unfazed, Yuri responds they should have kept up. Yuri stands as Sir Raymond reports that the escaped bandits are toast with no damage to their troops. Satisfied, Yuri suggests using the bandits' supplies for dinner, announcing they'll have wild-style roasted skewers. Yuri chats about the meal with his men, brushing off concerns about the meat's smell, mentioning they've got a lot to learn about its taste. He suggests camping at the site for the night and continuing their journey the next day. As they settle in, a man approaches Yuri with news. He mentions their route might cross paths with forces from another kingdom in guide. Yuri listens, weighing the implications. A bandit tries to make a sneaky escape but gets a swift kick, stopping him in his tracks. Yuri continues his convo unfazed. He asks which kingdom they might intersect with. The response is the Holy Kingdom. Yuri seems pleased, noting it's governed by holy law. Raymond informs Yuri about the Holy Kingdom's princess, mentioning friendly relations could heal their troops, but it's not a done deal. He reveals the princess is in a power struggle and sensitive to achievements that could boost her position, suggesting she might make a move soon. Our boy Yuri mentions the princess of the Holy Kingdom, wondering if he should investigate further. Raymond tells him to wait, but Yuri decides he's going to meet the princess himself, because why not? On his way to Balshard, Yuri makes a pit stop in Guide, a key city supplying the Federation. As soon as he arrives, he's reminded of the strict military law keeping things in check. Meanwhile, Raymond's out training the younger troops, doing his part. Yuri meets the Lord of Guide, who gives him a warm welcome, acknowledging the honor of meeting the Prince of Brial. Yuri thanks the Lord for Guide's cooperation with Brial. The Lord reminisces about the King of Brial's past victories against the orcs and notes that Yuri's presence seems to intimidate them. Yuri promises to meet these expectations, no pressure. A servant then drops the news that the princess of the Holy Empire has arrived, and the Lord invites Yuri to meet her. Yuri's down, so they head to the Grand Hall where Princess Sibylla Arstein rolls in with her guards. She introduces herself with major confidence as the second princess of the Holy Kingdom. The Lord and the princess exchange pleasantries, but when she asks if Yuri is the Lord's vassal, the Lord hesitates awkward. The princess asks for a private word with the Lord, but a soldier simp interrupts, accusing Yuri of being rude for not standing to greet her. The soldier's clearly agitated, insisting on respect. Yuri steps forward, revealing himself as the third prince of Betrayal, shocking everyone. He explains his informal appearance like the other knights and expresses disbelief at how he's been perceived. Later, Yuri and the princess sit together, and the soldiers apologize for their earlier behavior. Yuri, dressed in a simple outfit, jokes about his appearance, asking if he looks that lowly. Lady Sibylla responds politely and they exchange pleasantries. Yuri casually asks about her age. Sibylla mentions she's 20 and Yuri, at 18, suggests they can be friends. The Lord comments on their friendly terms, noting the importance of camaraderie as they prepare to fight the orcs together. Sibylla agrees, albeit shyly. Yuri mentions he didn't spot any royal troops on his way, and Sibylla confirms they're expected the next day. Yuri expresses concern, hoping nothing bad happens, but Sibylla reassures him, citing the Holy Kingdom's strict military discipline. Yuri notes that orcs can pop up unexpectedly, highlighting their ambush skills. Yuri is asked about the Holy Knights, describing them as old-fashioned and suggesting potential challenges in dealing with them. Yuri and Hernando walk through the marketplace, discussing an amulet they snagged from the bandit. Hernando confirms, saying it's the only nearby place selling such items. They recall the bandit leader's warning that the amulet attracts orcs, likening it to a war drug. They approach a shop owner about the amulet, but he rudely dismisses them since they aren't there to buy anything. Despite the setback, they keep investigating. Hernando speculates about the amulet's quality, suggesting it's too low to function effectively. He mentions the bandits likely bought all available stock. Nearby, soldiers discuss recent events. The princess confirms she's finished talking with the Lord, while another mentions rumors that the Prince of Betrayal has lost his dignity. Fennec, the vice commander of the Holy Kingdom, talks with the princess. He expresses disbelief that Yuri, considered a weirdo, is the commander. He comments on Betrayal's outdated reputation as a kingdom of knights. The princess gently tells Fennec to stop hating on others. Fennec continues, noting Yuri's mercenary-like appearance and poor attitude. He worries about Betrayal losing a prince after the recent orc subjugation. The princess insists Fennec retract his words and asks if there are issues with the troops. Fennec reassures her, saying he's handling everything and they'll patrol the city. The scene shifts to the city at dusk, with lights illuminating the buildings. In a bar, Yuri's soldiers from Betrayal are having a blast, playing cards and laughing. Fennec observes them, puzzled by their lack of discipline. Feeling compelled to address their behavior, he confronts them, questioning their actions. Yuri approaches Fennec, interrupting the tense moment. He casually asks for Fennec's name, shifting the focus away from the confrontation. Fennec is momentarily caught off guard by Yuri's sudden appearance. Fennec flicks Yuri's arm away like it's a pesky fly, ignoring his question. The surrounding knights are shook, realizing this confrontation could spell trouble. Fennec warns that such actions will only cause issues for both Yuri and the knights. Fennec criticizes Yuri and his crew for their lack of discipline, suggesting they should have been given swords instead of cards, questioning their readiness for battle. Our boy Yuri, unfazed, challenges Fennec's own experience with a sword, implying doubt about his capabilities. Yuri firmly asks Fennec for his name again, questioning the hierarchy within the Holy Kingdom's army. Fennec is visibly surprised by Yuri's boldness. Bro thought he was the main character. The princess pulls up and questions Fennec's actions, reminding him he mentioned going on patrol. Caught off guard, Fennec quickly apologizes for his oversight and the princess tells him to go. Fennec, still flustered, complies. The princess apologizes to Yuri on Fennec's behalf. Yuri insists there's no need for her to apologize. The princess acknowledges the difficulty in managing all their men and assures Yuri she'll repay the debt next time. Yuri reflects on a conversation with Raymond about the princess's sensitivity regarding her achievements due to her diminishing power. He dismisses any notion of surpassing her, recognizing her capabilities. Inside, Yuri and his men are living it up, ready to start another round of their gambling game. One of them eagerly announces it's his turn and the others cheer him on. Outside, Fennec asks the princess if she's interested in Yuri. They're deep in conversation when a soldier on horseback rushes towards them, looking exhausted and battered. He urgently calls out to the princess and Fennec, apologizing for his abruptness. The soldier delivers an urgent message. Their main troops have been attacked by orcs. The princess listens intently. Fennec stands by her side, absorbing the seriousness of the situation. Later, the princess is ready to depart. Concerned, the Lord approaches her, suggesting they seek assistance from the Betrayal army to minimize damage to their troops. However, Fennec insists that the Holy Kingdom should handle the situation themselves, questioning if the Lord truly believes they would lose to mere orcs. The Lord clarifies that's not his intention, but Fennec's determination is clear. The princess reassures the Lord, expressing confidence in their ability to handle the situation. She thanks him for his concern and signals the start of their advance, urging her troops forward. The Lord, standing with a soldier, remarks on the Holy Kingdom's stubbornness, noting the vice commander is particularly hard-headed. Despite this, he acknowledges there's little they can do. He instructs the soldier to head to the Betrayal army's barracks immediately to find the third prince. Yuri receives the message. A nearby soldier asks what it says. Yuri reveals that the main troops of the Holy Kingdom have been ambushed by orcs. Yuri discusses the situation with a fellow soldier. The Federation army has been asked to help subjugate nearby orcs as a favor. There's confusion about why the request is for Guide and not the Holy Kingdom. Yuri speculates that someone acted stubbornly. He instructs Sir Raymond to prepare for battle immediately. Yuri asks the messenger for his name. The messenger identifies himself as Roy. Yuri acknowledges him and gives a clear order. Head to the bar next to the Talisman Market and summon the Betrayal soldiers, announcing that only the first 10 soldiers to arrive will be accepted to ensure a swift response. Roy confirms the order and heads off. Yuri watches as Roy disappears into the distance. With a confident smile, he muses about taking a night walk, eager for the events to unfold. Yuri and his army ride into battle. Yuri teases his men about their sobriety. They insist they're ready, and Yuri chuckles, acknowledging their spirit. As they ride on, a soldier named Jard looks unwell. Another soldier notices and comments on his pale face. Jard insists he's fine, though his expression suggests otherwise. Meanwhile, Laurent, Yuri's #1 glazer, rides beside Yuri, almost getting his pants wet with admiration for Yuri's ability to forgive the holy knights who insulted him and offer help. Yuri, a bit weirded out, downplays the compliment. Yuri reflects on Laurent's behavior, acknowledging Laurent's loyalty and feeling grateful yet slightly unsettled by how different Laurent seems compared to his past life. Laurent quickly clarifies that he's merely showing appreciation. As they approach the Holy Kingdom's holy knights, tension fills the air. One of the knights warns their leader to look ahead as they prepare for battle. Yuri addresses the group, emphasizing the importance of this first battle against their formidable opponents. He declares his intention to lead the charge. Yuri Betrayal, the third prince, commands his troops to prepare for battle. He instructs them to stay safe, emphasizing, "Do not get hurt, the battle is imminent." Sibylla charges into battle, recalling a chat with Yuri, our boy, who had warned her about the unpredictability of orc attacks. He told her to be cautious, even when defenses seem strong. As she rides forward, she regrets not listening but feels relieved her troops are still holding their ground. She tells Fennec to target the enemy leader, and he nods, ready to execute the plan. Sibylla then prays for divine protection as she heads into the fight. Suddenly, a white energy envelops her, granting her the protection she asked for: plot armor. A mystical summoning circle appears, glowing ominously. From its center, a skeletal skull emerges, surrounded by swirling energy. The soldiers around Sibylla keep charging, unaware it's a trap. The ground beneath them gives way, and they plummet into an abyss. As they fall, Sibylla questions if she made the wrong choice again. Her mind flashes back to her childhood, when she first received her holy powers. Surrounded by praise, she felt a strong sense of responsibility and decided to learn sword techniques to meet expectations. She remembers defeating her brother in a duel, shattering his sword. This victory strained their relationship, and he eventually sent her to the battlefield, framing it as fulfilling divine will for her soul's salvation. At the bottom of the abyss, Sibylla struggles to her feet, covered in a mysterious black substance. She mutters disbelief at their predicament, calling it a joke, and urges her troops to regain their senses. Realizing the substance is oil, she sees an orc above preparing to throw a flaming torch into the pit. Panic grips Sibylla as she tries to think of a way out. Suddenly, a voice cuts through her thoughts, calling her name. It's Yuri, who confidently throws down a rope, offering a way out. Is it really that hard to ask for help? Sibylla climbs out, thanking Yuri and acknowledging the favor she owes him. Yuri casually tells her not to mention it. Fennec, the Holy Kingdom's vice commander, approaches Yuri, apologizing for the previous incident at the bar and recognizing him as the third Prince of Betrayal. Surprised by Fennec's change of heart, Sibylla assures Yuri she won't forget his help. Yuri tells her that if Betrayal is ever in trouble, they can come to him for help. His attention then shifts back to the battlefield, where the orcs are retreating. Yuri quickly assesses the situation, wondering if the orcs' withdrawal is due to a failed attempt to eliminate the Holy Knights. He commands his troops to pursue the fleeing orcs, determined not to let them escape. As they prepare to pursue, the orcs suddenly turn back, ready for a counterattack. Yuri positions himself in front of Sibylla to protect her as the orcs charge with renewed aggression. An orc releases an arrow charged with purple energy, aiming it at Yuri and Sibylla. Yuri swings his sword, shattering the arrow before it can reach them. Standing confidently, Yuri notes the orc leader must be angry. He grips his sword, ready for the battle ahead.